Throughout the semester, I've learned a lot of various lessons pertaining to digital storytelling, such as how to make my documentary project more appealing to the audience by making sure the lighting is good and the angles and all that stuff. Also, how to think about and how to form stories, and then how to put this all together to really inform my instructional practices in the future. And so I don't know how to really explain this well, but for all of these lessons, they were ones that I really thought or really expected to learn. In other words, I thought I had a clear understanding of what I needed to know in order to become an effective digital storyteller, or how to be a teacher of digital storytelling. But this week's reading from Oler chapter 15 really showed me that I still need to know so much more, and that I previously had not thought about things that I really needed to, namely fair use and copyright and UOPs. So from my past experiences writing papers and giving presentations, I always knew that I had to, that I should always properly cite works that I was using in my own assignments. My teachers always really emphasized the need to do so, and they always listed that as part of the rules in the syllabus. But I never understood really why I had to do this. Reading this chapter really opened my eyes to see that this is actually a really, really, really good concern for me to be thinking about when I do my own works or when I create my own things, but then also when I teach students in the future. And so Oler brings up a lot of great points about this topic to consider, but the biggest thing that I got out from it is kind of the umbrella term for all of these points, which is respect. So beyond what the law says, which kind of seems convoluted at best from what Oler depicts, respect is a good rule to keep in mind when considering how to navigate the tricky waters of UOPs and fair use and copyright. Most people learn at a young age what respect is and how to show respect to others. However, at least for me, this understanding becomes a little bit fuzzy when it comes to areas of media use. And Oler gives a good explanation for this phenomenon, which is that digital UOPs is more abstract than physical UOPs. So for example, it's a lot easier to understand that when you take someone's book, for example, and you sell that, or you use it for your own purposes that are not just for kind of entertainment, that is stealing, or that is disrespectful. That's really easily understood. However, when we think about that more in terms of digital use, so when we think of songs or streaming movies or using someone's photo in your own presentation, it's a lot more difficult to understand that that is disrespectful. And I believe the reason for that is just because those things are intangible. We can't really hold them in our hands. Like, we can see them as a link, but it's just not something that is really easily discernible as this is someone's property. This is another point that Oler points out, is that for younger students, this has to do with cognition and just the way that their brain develops. And so for younger students, it's hard to really wrap their minds around abstract concepts. And so perhaps that is a reason why for younger students, maybe they will be more inclined to stream movies illegally or to download things like songs or things like that illegally. However, in order to safeguard against taking what is not rightfully one's own, one should always really highly value respect. So with this boundary, it's easier to understand how one's actions really infringe upon someone else. So this lesson is extremely applicable to me for my documentary project, but then also for when I'm teaching in the future. I understand a lot better now why Professor Bowling really heavily emphasized making sure that we always went through the right steps in order to obtain permission or to figure out whether or not I could use or if we could use a certain image or a certain video clip or a certain song in our documentaries. All of this is to really avoid potential difficulties down the line. Even if the documentary that I'm creating is intended just for this class and it's not supposed to be distributed elsewhere, who knows what might happen with YouTube, or if it could potentially be distributed over the internet where anyone can see it. So it really is just best to really make sure one takes the steps necessary to give credit where credit is due, or just to refrain from taking something that is not I guess available to be used for those purposes. And so when I enter the editing phase, which I really hope to do so soon, I am going to avoid using other artists' songs. If possible, I want to go to the websites that Oler suggests in the chapter that offer public domain media for me to use. And then other than that, I'm going to just try to stick to my own work and then my own footage. And so in regards to the classroom in the future, I really want to ingrain in my students the concept and the practicality of respect. I want them to realize that respect is not just something that should be there when you're interacting with someone face to face, but respect can be extended into whenever you interact with someone virtually or indirectly. So I want them to learn that also that property includes not just something that you can hold in your hands or you can see or that's tangible, but also things that are more intangible, that are on the internet. So no matter what grade I'm teaching, I want to make sure that my lessons, or that I can incorporate a lesson whenever appropriate, to teach my students the importance of citations, permission, and compensation, but more with a heavier emphasis on the first one, which is citations. In addition, I want to always include in the rubric a section that specifies the need for proper citations, and just making sure that the students give credit where credit is due. Of course, I want to also be aware of the developmental age of the students, and I don't want to overburden them, like Oler says, with like APA format or things like that. But I want them to start understanding that in order to be respectful, they must say that someone else created something if they use it in their own works. And so I hope that with this continual push for respect and this push to be respectful towards others, that the students will be able to generalize this skill, so they wouldn't just use it for my class, but they would also use it when they enter into the workforce or when they go to other classes, that they'll be able to really bring this sense of respect everywhere, no matter where they go.